look bald. So much looks different. New headphones, I broke my old ones. I really don't like these, but they're alright. This is my new office space. May have been in the last video, but I moved my stuff around. December price action still sucks. It's been a really bad month for me. We actually did end the week green. I'm up around 1,800 bucks on the week, which is just, I mean, whatever. I'm surviving, which is just great. We need to talk about this. This is the trade I caught today, 40 points. It was the only trade I took today. Until New Year's, it is 24% off. Do not miss out on starting your 2025 right. Trade with me every single day. Learn from the courses I have. Everything inside of my Discord is all private, made by me to make sure you have the best understanding of all my concepts, all my strategies, but also a way to improve yourself and get better every single day. I trade live every single day, show my P&L always. The only trades I take are the ones that I do on stream. If you don't think I can do it, you can watch me do it live. Make this your year, bro. I'm gonna show you the most realistic opportunity that I can, because it's exactly what happened today, about not only living and dying by your supply zones, but being able to actually trade off of them, understand what they're doing, and in most cases, when you look at how I trade, just kind of being aware of them. And I draw my supply zones on the 4 and the 1 hour, just giving myself kind of these really important pivot points is what I like to call them, areas where I'm expecting to see these big influx of volume to the opposite direction. And we fell right into this giant buy zone I had on NQ, which kind of made me contradict everything, because current trend was bearish. How can I take shorts if I'm in a buy zone? This is the key. When you are trading off of supply and demand, like you normally do, you draw your zones. In my scenario, I'm trading off of the 4 and the 1 hour. These are super big time frames to build zones off of, but trend today looked extremely bearish, and I was aware of that quickly. So when you are noticing, hey, there is a clear selling momentum to the downside inside of even a buy zone, you understand that this is probably going to get underneath this, because these zones are not just end all be all 100% guaranteed rate breakthrough. These zones are just areas where you're expecting to see some buys. Doesn't mean that sellers can't completely match that and push that even lower. And that's exactly how prices are moving today. This is how you avoid that. What I did was I just went on the shorter time frame. Remember, my zones are on the 1 and the 4 hour. Waited for a short side application of my strategy, and it's super simple. I'm gonna show you this right now to actually make sure you are getting the most consistent outlook when you are trading supply and demand, and actually inputting that with price action, because I believe those are the two most important things that you could ever look to do when you're trading, is actually understand how to chart supply and demand, not to just trade off it, but how to chart supply and demand, and then also how to actually trade off of it, reading price action. Because again, when it comes down to it, no matter how you trade, SRT, SMT, SMG, SMD, it's all fugazi. Reading price action, understanding what does every single candle being printed out exactly mean. Friday night, what am I doing with my life? I'm gonna show you exactly my breakthrough today that really kind of, like, I don't know, just fired me up a little bit, man. It felt so good to just take one good trade, understand and read price action a little bit different than I usually do, to actually confirmation of my trade, and watch it play out. And I wasn't in drawdown for a single second. Caught 50 points and called it a day. I actually caught around like 200, but I closed out for 50 because I'm a scalper. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove all my drawings to show you guys I'm really about this shit. We have this replayed to 9:30 market open. Right now, what I want to do every morning is what I like to do. I like to go on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. And if you guys ever struggle with what time frame I'm on, you guys can see right there. It shows the 4H. That is the time frame I'm on, and then NQ is obviously what I'm trading. I trade NASDAQ solely. Okay, so what I did this morning was, there's something that I always like to do. The reason why I would mark at a level like this is because we actually see application of it after it gets charted out. So you guys see we actually have this close, a slight top wick. This is still a really bullish candle, but you see we tried to buy into this one more time and actually sold off of it again. So that's an area where I'm like, okay, this is somewhere where I should mark out. This is slightly different just because this is an actual low. This is what I would call our session low. This is just somewhere that I actually would look to trade off of, just because you guys can see if you go underneath it, there's really nothing. So there's times like this where we actually haven't seen the move yet. But this is clearly a very important level, because you guys see we have not traded underneath it in a very long time. And obviously we'll mark out the high just because the same exact thing. Session high, session low for today. This is our projections. Just kind of, we want to make sure that this usually will stay in this range. That's our prediction for the day. Session high, session low. And then this is just kind of this median area where we've seen a lot of exchanging in price. You guys see we're kind of in this area for a while. We saw some sells, we saw some buys, and ended up getting back above that. But what we want to look at here is now understand 4 hour is done. Now we'll go to the 1 hour, just kind of check things out. I don't always mark things out on the 1 hour. Usually 4 hours my bread and butter, but you could look at an area like this where, you know, you're not seeing an actual move off it like we did here, but we're seeing immense volume. And that's another thing you should look at. Kind of same thing here. That's a better explanation of this. If you see an area where we see a huge sell-off and then we just see a lot of volume marked off after a low, just like we did here and just like we did here, those are areas where I'll inherently mark out. But this is the perfect example today of not just living and dying by my zones. That's something that I used to do a little bit too much and I kind of regret it, but I'm getting better trading supply and demand, especially you know, in December. It's really thrown some things off for me, but this trade I took today was so good. You guys know recently I've been scalping and just trading price action because of the fact that price action and overall trend has just been so bad. So I've just really tried to stick to bare bones, nothing crazy, not relying on my strategy too much, just reading what the chart is giving me and doing the best with it. And it's been okay. The last 2 weeks I've been green, but they haven't been good green. I think I was up like 2,000 last week and now I'm up 1,800 this week. But you guys know, so recently when I have been trading price action, that usually means I'm going to scalp. Smaller definition of taking smaller trades, having a very strong SL and a very strong TP, living by that, not worrying about runners, not worrying about anything else, not worried about trimming, TP, SL, shorter time frames, trading off of price action and just rolling with it. So what we would expect here is, you see pre-market, we have a pretty nice sell-off. We made a high around 7 o'clock this morning, just never got onto it again. But we've noticed that at pre-market open, huge sells coming into the market, huge sells prior. Doesn't mean that I'm taking shorts yet. You know, I am looking for longs here, and that's what I did this morning. I was initially looking for longs. Now, this is something that I've gotten better at as well. I used to just jump in longs here, SL here, right as we touch the buy zone and just trade up to the high. That's not something I do anymore. I don't want to do that. It's a little bit botted in my eyes. This is how you take a strategy like supply and demand and turn it into something a lot better. This is why supply and demand gets so much crap, because people just live and die by zones, and it makes us look like we don't know how to trade, when in reality, this is the only thing that you really should be basing your trades off of, in my eyes. I get ICT, CRT, all these bummy things. If you guys trade that way and you make money, congratulations. Again, I'm so proud of you. But none of that stuff is going to give you more an edge than I have. It's all about intuition. It's all about experience in the market. Anything like that just gives yourself more confidence to take a certain trade. Give yourself more conviction. That's all a strategy like that is. Same thing with supply and demand. We're looking at previous areas where there was a flip or a pivot in price and hoping that that will continue. We are kind of basing off of the fact that there are big money in the markets moving price at a certain area, and we're expecting moves like that going onward. So how I've been trading recently is marking out the 4 and the 1 hour lows and highs, and I've actually been going into the time frames, going down on the 1, going down on the 2, going down on the 3. That's really as high as I would go on the 3, and we actually got our trade on the 3 minute today, and just reading price action. So yes, right now you would see prices above. We have not closed below. We are looking at a buying zone right here. So inherently, my bias right off the bat is I'm looking for longs, because we're expecting a huge order of buys to come in here, because that's what happened prior. Like I said before, if you trade off of supply and demand zones, all that means is we are expecting aggressive buys in this area. That's all that means. Does not mean that if the current trend is bearish, we can't see that amount of sells or even more. So just because you're trading off supply and demand zones does not mean that you're just going to inverse trend and catch the bottom and catch 100 points. That's not how it works. It's important that you actually look at price action, what the chart is giving you. Is this going to break below my zone, or is this going to see some buys come in and then we're going to flip and go to the upside? So what I would do now is I go in the 1, I go in the 2, I go in the 3, and I'm reading price action. That's all I'm doing. I'm reading price action. Am I either going to stay on the 1, the 2, and the 3 and trade shorts because we believe that there's buys in here, but we want to catch these quick moves to the downside, take advantage of the trend? Or do I wait to see confirmation of buys coming in here to go back on the higher time frames, or even the 5 or the 15, then trade longs off of this? So this is a good example of today, just waiting, and you'll see my trade, waiting for actual confirmation of buys / sells off of previous candlesticks. We're disregarding the zones and going with the trend. Trend is king. So trend is number one. No matter what you trade, no matter how you trade, you should be looking at trend as the number one thing you should be trying to stick with. We are all just little fish trying to stick with the crowd. We want to make sure we swim on the right path of the stream. Don't go against the stream, because you're just not giving yourself the market edge. So what I did at this point was I noticed, okay, 9:30, we hop in the stream. Notice, hey guys, we're seeing some big sells come in. I'm actually looking for longs right now, but I'm actually waiting to see confirmation of buys, or market continues to sell. We see aggressive sells coming in. We wait for a retracement. We wait for confirmation of sells at a newer low. But like I said, we got our entry on the 3 minute today. And you guys see market opens up and we just continue to sell, continue to sell. And here we go getting our trade. So you notice I didn't really see anything on the 1 minute, surprisingly, but we finally made this low. We started to buy up off of this. This is when I went ahead and actually drew out this area right here. We marked out our low just because, again, this was intraday session low. But what I'll do for a while, if I don't see any entries on the 1 minute, I will not force anything. I will go up. We'll go on the 2. And you notice we have a potential entry for shorts right here. I went on the 3 minute and I found exactly what I wanted to see right away. I knew I was getting in shorts right here. So what we did was we went ahead and marked out this topic right here. And this was something I explained in the VC today, that I do not like to mark out just candlestick wicks like this, because before this happened right here, this was just a candlestick wick. Okay, this was nothing. But just how I said I like to mark out my 4-hour zones, I like to see some sort of buy or sell off of a certain wick. Then I will go ahead and mark it out, because now it shows me that this is somewhat important. So right here, you see this candlestick wick, you don't think of it as anything. You think of it as just another candlestick wick until we see the move happen. So I didn't have this marked out just yet. I did have this low marked out. But you guys see, once we initially rejected off of this, I went ahead and marked this out, because what we saw right here is we had this high. Price came all the way up pretty bullish. You guys see a lot of buys came in, and look what happens. Right as we got in this area where we previously rejected, price got almost above it and rejected right off of it. Now, I didn't get in shorts right there because I wanted to wait a little bit longer to confirm that shorts were still the side, because we just had this nice bullish move come in. I didn't know if this was going to make a lower high and continue up, so we just waited, kicked back, and you guys see once again, this is where we got our entry. We had price buy back up into this, even above. This is what I told you guys before. I don't just jump in on pops into the zones now. I wait for candle closes every single time. If there's one thing I could suggest you guys, please wait for candle closes regardless how you trade. That is the only way you get pure 100% confirmation of a setup. Because now I know, once again, price bought up into this, even back above it, and instantly sold all the way back down, even to below this area. So now what you guys see the setup. You guys see exactly what I'm looking for. We jump in at this candle close, SL at the top of this wick, TP at low of day. So there's everything right about this, okay? So we have another rejection off of this high. We have our SL above this wick, which now, in my eyes, if I'm trading shorts, if we get back above this, it's looking very good for longs. I would actually consider longs, as well as the fact that this is above this previous area, which we rejected off of before. Plus, it's right at this EMA. We tapped the EMA, sold right back off. This looks really good for a continuation down with a very bearish trend already this morning. And this is all a game of probability. Remember, what are the chances now? It's not 100%. But remember, we just sold off this high after rejecting off of it one time initially, marking the first candlestick wick, bought back into it, rejected off of it the second time, third time rejected off of it. Do we have a higher chance of buying back up here after rejecting off it 3 times, or actually continuing to go down? I would say the 50-50 line goes a little bit in my direction, and that's what can separate you from being profitable or not. TP was at low of day just because, again, it was low of day. We saw a nice influx of buys right here. We want to make sure we get out at low of day, because God forbid it could have flipped back up, and it's already a 1.7 RR trade is what I remember it being today. So now that we have our entry on the 3 minute, I like to go down to the 1 minute to kind of just watch price action. You can see this looks very good. This is a pretty good candle close on the 1 minute as well. We jump in right there. You guys watch this. This is where management comes into play, because I didn't just hit TP right away. You have to manage your trades. It's something I've been doing so much more of recently. Being able to actually understand psychology during your trading is what's going to separate you long term, especially in 2025. At this point, price now got down to 20 points in profit for me. So it's not my full TP, but at this point, I'm definitely not trying to take a 27-point loss on this trade. So what I did now is I moved my SL to the previous high that we were during this trade. This turned into an 8-point SL for me. I remember it being 8, so let me put it right there. So at this point, we have now de-risked ourselves from the trade. We got in at a good time. We are now in profit, and now we can actually de-risk ourselves, make sure that when we take this, even if we do take a loss, because nothing is confirmed, even just because we're 20 points in profit doesn't mean we're just gonna hit TP right away. We've de-risked ourselves from this trade, and now we've actually turned this into a 6.0 basically RR trade, which is crazy. That's such a good outcome for us. And if it does happen, we get stopped out, whatever. We just de-risk ourselves. We can always look for another trade. Especially this being my first trade of the day, we can always look for another trade. It's not a big deal to me. I wanted to make sure I just de-risk myself. Make sure that once I'm 20 points in profit, I'm halfway to my TP. I don't take a loss on this trade. I don't want to take a big loss. You guys can see we're pulling back to this EMA looking really good for shorts as long as we stayed underneath it. You guys saw that's exactly what happened, and this shit dumped. We hit TP and this shit kept going and going and going. So yes, we could have gotten a way bigger TP for this, but we don't do that, bro. We're not gamblers, man. Hindsight's 2020. This could have hit our TP and just completely swept back up, especially because this was an area where we expected to see buys. This was a buy zone. So we took shorts inside of a buy zone, but remember, that was a 4-hour buy zone. We're trading on the 1, 2, and 3 minute. So as long as you keep that, especially inside of your zones, to the smaller areas, you should be just fine, because everything is relative. If you are trading off of a 4-hour zone, you should be looking to be in that trade for multiple candles, which would inherently be like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And I believe price actually held this other low. Look at all the buys we're seeing in this area. And again, this was this, let me go on this was that 1 hour low we had marked out. You guys see, look at how well we held that. That's so nice. We had this low marked out because remember, now, I don't need to see a move off of it if it's got a lot of volume coming in. And you guys see, look what happened. We actually did have a super nice buyback off of it. Now we're back into this area, which can be considered a sell zone now, but we ain't got to worry about that because it's the weekend and we already caught our money. Thank you so much for watching. We're about to hit 30K. Once I get the studio fully set up and all my recording stuff ready, I'm so hyped for, I got so many ideas.